Hey, Lonzo Ball, it's your agent.
What's up?
I've got a commercial opportunity for you from Buzz Ball's Ready to Go cocktails.
Nice. My last name is Ball. The product is a cocktail in a ball. I get it.
That's what I thought too, but no, they want you for your hands. They think your big hands will show off the size of their new Blue Biggies ball.
Big blue balls? Really?
Get blue balls this season with Buzz Ball.
Please drink responsibly. Buzz Balls available in spirit, wine, and malt. 15% alcohol by volume. Buzz Balls LLC, Carrollton, Texas.
Close your eyes, exhale, feel your body relax, and let go of whatever you're carrying today.
Well, I'm letting go of the worry that I wouldn't get my new contacts in time for this class. I got them delivered free from 1-800-CONTACTS. Oh my gosh, they're so fast.
And breathe.
Oh, sorry. I almost couldn't breathe when I saw the discount they gave me on my first order. Oh, sorry. Namaste.
Visit 1-800-CONTACTS.com today to save on your first order.
1-800-CONTACTS. Unfiltered discussions. Unexpected guests. No topic is off limits, from sex and relationships to the human condition, personal anxieties, and so much more. The only talk show of its kind in the world. This is The Last Show with David Cooper.
Hello and welcome. I hope you had a nice weekend. No update today specifically from my tiny little best friend, my black cat Tomato. Let me tell you about tonight's show. We will cover highlights from the tech industry, including a robot that has just broken the Rubik's Cube solving record. Nerds. How fast can a Rubik's Cube robot that solves Rubik's Cubes solve Rubik's Cubes? Faster than you might think. And the latest use of someone in the law industry using large language models, ChatGPT, to do their work and submit that work to courts, only to have that work have lies and hallucinations in it, like well-cited court cases that don't exist. What is going on? These are some of the stories we'll tackle. That'll be halfway through the hour when it's time for Technology Time. After that, science that I feel personally attacked by. Maybe you do too. A study finds that couples who cuddle at bedtime are more secure and less stressed. I ain't a bedtime cuddler and you can't force me, but we'll find out why we should be later in the program. That is just some of what you'll hear tonight. We better dive in.
Want to be part of The Last Show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
We are here with foreign correspondent Tony Five in London, England. Earlier in the week, we were discussing somebody who saved all of England.
David, as part of my regular segment, Provincial News, where I bring the lamest, weirdest, oddest story from the most smallest provincial towns that can be anywhere in the world. And it's the headlines that grabs people that are, one can only be described as mundane, inane, ridiculous, boring, stupid.
Like us.
But one such story, David, grabbed it. It was based in my own country of England and Hertfordshire, where a man saved a small village from a hawk that was terrorizing villagers, David.
It was swooping down, I think. It was attacking people, grabbing their heads, stealing their lunch money, eating their children. Probably not all of that. But can you imagine a hawk terrorizing a village, attacking villagers?
Well, I can, David, and hopefully you'll speak to this gentleman soon.
Well, I mean, I have him here right now, Tony.
Oh, well, then you will speak to him.
Tony, I have with us the legend, Steve Harris, Hertfordshire Harris Hawk hero, protector of pensioners, savior of scalps. Steve, we are graced by your presence. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
David, I'm so happy. So this guy's a genuine local hero. Steve is here, the man of the hour. Tell us, Steve, what did you do? I feel it's like the D-Day landings. Go, let us do it. I want to feel all the emotions of the day.
Well, yeah, I mean, it started off, I guess, with the frustrations of not being able to go out of the house at all for weeks because this hawk had been raining terror. So yeah, I was working from home actually, and it was a nice day, and I went out for a run, and this hawk had been swooping people quite consistently and getting more progressively more regular with his swooping.
Are you in the hawk killing industry? Is that what you do like full time?
Yeah, that's me. Yeah. Well, I am hopefully now.
Carry on.
I'm still confused here, and I've Tony's explained it to me, and I'm sure you'll explain it to me. I may still be confused. It's a Harris hawk.
Sure.
And yet your name is Steve Harris.
Yeah.
But it's not your hawk.
It's not my hawk. You couldn't write it, could you? It's just it happened to nest in the tree at the end of my garden. Whether it knew I was a Harris and that's why I had a particular penchant for that tree, I'm not sure. But yeah.
What was it doing to the local residents of your city?
It was sitting up on our rooftops, waiting for people to wander past and not pay attention to it, and then it was swooping down and whacking them on the head.
Yeah. Do you believe it was a targeted attack? Was there a specific demographic it was going for?
Well, yeah, initially it was the press were got on the idea that it was tall males and often it likes a man with a hat. So I had been hit twice before, once whilst wearing a hat. So that seems to be what it liked.
It's traumatic. I mean, I just feel I can hear it in his voice that you've gone through a lot. You've gone through a lot, Stephen, and
Yeah.
you're such a handsome man. For those who can't see him, he's a beautiful man, and not all heroes wear capes, David, as you know.
Some wear hats, and then sometimes not hats. Would it bleed? Like, how bad were these attacks? Were people on the ground, hospitalized, dead? What was going on?
Yeah, there was fortunately no deaths, but there was hospital admissions. There was lots of pictures of people with blood streaming down their faces. It was causing scratches because these horses have got quite sharp, big talons. So yeah, it was getting a bit frightening, to be honest.
So you sought to capture the rabid beast, who probably didn't have rabies, but the point's well taken.
Well, there was fear about that. There was people. There was lots of messages locally. I've been attacked. Do I need to go and get my rabies jabs? And I think there were some people that did.
Wow. How did you capture the feral beast?
Well, we had this cage in the back garden, which the local falconer had been trying to use to catch it. So it was like a sprung cage. So
wait, so there was a professional falconer,
yeah,
who gets paid to do it, and you, the amateur, come and just swoop, literally, sorry to pun, swooped in.
That's it. Well, I'd had enough, and we'd been going for weeks and weeks trying to find a way to catch it. So I kind of, I guess took matters into my own hands, grabbed hold of this cage, and I was able just to kind of open up the cage and then lob it over the top of it, and it sprung over the top and caught it. Yeah, so it was scary.
How does it feel now that you're the hero of Flamstead? So for our listeners abroad, Flamstead's a small village just in it's the Hertfordshire-Bedfordshire border, right?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah,
and it's a lovely, like, beautiful country English village. I know it very well. I don't live too far away from it. Do people buy you drinks in a pub when they see you? Are you kind of, the people throws themselves in front of you? Have you had marriage offers?
When you visit the elderly home, do the women throw themselves at you? What's been going on?
Yeah, I mean,
like, what's happened to you since you've become the hero of Flamstead?
Oh, yeah, unfortunately, none of those things. Well, the first week there was, it was exciting, and that first day I got a fair few drinks bought for me, and but It's been a few weeks now, so it's old news in a way.
That seems so British to me. Like, everyone's very excited, they show their emotion for 5 minutes, and then back to normal.
It's the one, yeah.
So what I was thinking, obviously, in the States you've got the bald eagle, the Canada goose. How do you think you could cope against these birds of prey?
Yeah, bring it on. I've done the hawk now, so there's got to be a next step up, hasn't there?
I don't know, man. They call Canada geese, or in Canada, they just call them geese. They call them cobra chickens, okay? And there's a reason they have earned that nickname. They are the most violent beasts of all of the animal kingdom.
Do they attack people?
They attack people viciously.
Yeah.
They don't have, like, the claws, they don't have the teeth, but they have the temperament of the most ferocious beast out there.
Well, when you need me over there, you just let me know, yeah?
Wow.
Hey, David, I'll fund that. I'll fund that expedition. I'll fund that outside broadcast of Steve fighting a Canada goose. I'll do it.
So just walk me through this again. Your name is Steve Harris. It's a Harris's hawk, and there's no relation.
No relation.
I still don't understand. But it was on your property.
It was on my property, yeah.
I'm confused.
You see, Steve, the skeptic in me would say you paid for that hawk to come in, cause the problem.
Wow.
Because obviously you've got the same surname, and then claimed all the fame.
Well, yeah. You'll never know.
What say you to your critics? Mostly it's just Tony.
It's just me. Yeah.
There's no way I can prove it. But yeah, maybe I did.
Well, you're a local hero. You've graced us with your presence. We love your story. I think the whole world, definitely North America, probably only me and Tony, we're so captured by your story. And it's just a great pleasure being with one of the great legends of hawk defense.
I would hope we could catch up soon and maybe find out what other birds you've taken over. Okay?
Yeah, I look forward to that. Yeah.
Steve, thanks for doing the show.
Thank you. Cheers.
All right, we'll be back with more Tony 5 and your calls in a minute. If you didn't catch that number, the whispery lady's about to tell you what it is right now.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
Hey there, travelers. Kaylee Cuoco here. Sorry to interrupt your music, great artist BT Dubs, but wouldn't you rather be there to hear it live? With Priceline, you can get out of your dreams and into your dream concert. They've got millions of travel deals to get you to that festival, gig, rave, sound bath, or sonic experience you've been dreaming of. Download the Priceline app today, and you can save up to 60% off hotels and up to 50% off flights. So don't just dream about that trip. Book it with Priceline.
Go to your happy price, Priceline.
The man of the hour or minute or second or the man of right now is here. He's foreign. He corresponds. He's from London, England. His name is Tony 5. I am David Cooper. This is The Last Show. Tony, welcome in.
What a wonderful day it has been, my friend. What a night. What a night. Oh, lady, what a night. I believe that's a John Travolta song.
We are taking your listener calls at 1-888-505-6644. 1-888-505-6644. The topic is Tony's bald head, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. Why you like it? What shine does it give you? How does my head make you feel?
Good?
Bad?
Okay?
Sensitive?
Do you pluck between your eyebrows, Tony?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you not?
No, I do.
Have you got a unibrow?
I do. I actually use my razor to shave between them, which I know you're not supposed to do because then it grows back thicker, but I just couldn't be bothered to pluck them. I just can't. That's too much.
Oh, really? No, I don't. Sometimes I sit with some duct tape when I'm watching TV and just pull it out.
Just go buck wild. We're taking your calls at 1-888-505-6644. Call in. Tell us what's on your mind. Give Tony a hello. He would like to hear from you.
I like talking to people, David. So even if you're not available tonight, just put it in your diary. We're here all the time. You can call anytime. And if we're not available, you can leave a voicemail and we'll call you back. But, it's lovely to do it live. It's just a nice feeling. Makes me feel warm and cuddly.
888-505-6644. Toll free if calling a 1-800 number is toll free where you live. So if you're in Mongolia, probably you have to pay a fee, but not important. Tony, at the break, you were telling me something about Spain?
Oh, my friend. So I don't know whether you heard this over there, but the Spanish hate people and they hate people who are not Spanish. And those people are called tourists.
I've been hearing that there's been protests all over Spain against tourism, not because they hate tourists inherently,
no,
but more that all these Airbnbs are popping up, taking rental units off the market and driving up rents for local people. So by, some real estate speculator, tourist Airbnb type who has a lot of money, they'll buy up 10 living units, rent them to tourists, and then the people who live in the city can't afford to live there anymore because there's less rental units on the market.
It's driving the indigenous Spaniards out, and I think there's 65,000 that are under watch by the Spanish government that they're going to try and either close or inflict some restrictions on them, basically to curb it. So yeah, it's pricing the Spanish out of their hometowns and stuff. And I guess it happens in most towns. I know it's happened in London where a lot of very rich guys were buying apartments and Airbnb-ing them. But there are some covenants that they've put in now that stops people from doing that.
It's a double-edged sword. I think I lean on the side of less Airbnb units and those kinds of units on the market is better for the city because it's more affordable. But what it does is drives down the cost of lodging for tourists, which brings tourism money into the city, which means restaurants and local businesses thrive more. So it's not just a simple like sub one for the other, oh, it's too expensive for locals, or oh, it's more accessible for tourists. There should be some sort of balance there.
I think it's very difficult. Airbnb has really only taken off in the last maybe decade. So I can see why it's just gone. I mean, it's a really easy way if you have money to make more money because, you know, you've got this constant stream of people. I don't know what it's like in Mongolia, though. So if we've got any Mongolians out there and you have an Airbnb problem, let us know.
There it is. I was like, are we actually doing serious, thoughtful stuff here? This is not us. This is so unlike us to actually be thoughtful about anything, Tony.
I'll be honest with you, there's not much bird-related attack news at the moment.
Tony is a bird attack expert. If you've got a story that involves a bird attack, send it to Tony at tony@lastshow.pizza. That's .pizza, not .com. Or give us a call at 1-888-505-6644. We want to hear from you. Tony, I think we actually have someone on the line.
No, wait, is it one of the pigeons calling up to say that we're defaming them on air?
Yes, and in the sense that no, but I appreciate you mentioning pigeons.
So is it actual real person?
Yeah, we got a real live caller on the line.
Is the board flashing? Is it flashing color?
I mean, there's one call on the line. So yes, it's flashing. We have millions of calls. No, we just have the one.
Well, I can't wait to hear them. Bring them on.
All right, we got Tony in North York on the program. Tony, not you, Tony, other Tony. Welcome to the show.
Hi, David. How are you? It's good to talk to you again.
The answer to your question is yes. I'm just not sure what the question was.
Right.
I can't believe there's another Tony. Are you trying to oust me, Tony, with another Tony?
I might be. It depends. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, it's a good thing if you know our listeners.
Okay, then it is.
So tell me, are you an Anthony, a Tony, an Antonio, or just a simple Fred?
I just go by Tony.
And what do you do? Do you have hair? Are you black? What's your favorite toenail?
So I'm retired now. I used to run a skating business.
A skating business? Like ice skating or roller skating?
A bit of both. We did mainly ice skating throughout the year, then roller skating during the summer.
Oh my God, did you used to drive those pepperonis?
Zamboni, Tony.
Okay, whatever.
I did not. No, somebody else did that.
Can you get a DUI for driving a Zamboni if you happen to be on public streets and intoxicated?
I wouldn't know the answer to that. I know that on private property you wouldn't because it doesn't require any license, but I don't know whether if it would qualify as an actual motor vehicle on the road.
Have you ever dealt with drunk Zamboni drivers in your place of business or former place of business?
Yes, I have.
Good Lord. I can't believe I've never met somebody that's owned an ice rink before. Like, what's the weirdest thing that's happened in an ice rink? Has somebody, like, thrown up?
Tony, we were talking about drunk Zamboni drivers. How could you change the topic there? That was gold.
Oh,
Can we speak about the drunk Zamboni driver, please?
This is going to be boring, but that's probably the most interesting thing that happens.
Have you had to fire someone, discipline someone, get them off the wheel because they're a menace? What happened?
You know what? The strange thing was is that this guy was actually particularly good. He did just fine. It seemed like alcohol was his thing, and he worked just fine. I had no problems with him. I knew he was under the influence, but I had no problems with him.
The last show cannot endorse drinking and Zamboni driving. That sounds dangerous. We can't endorse it unless... Well, no, we can't.
I mean, is that a PSA, David? Don't drink and Zamboni.
Look, this show has to be educational at least a little bit to get regulatory approval. So yes, that is a PSA.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No.
And what do you do now that you're retired, Tony? What do you do now? Are you? Do you consult with the police so that you can, if there's any sort of drunken Zamboni drivers, they consult you first?
No, not specifically. I just take it easy now.
Good for you.
I'm just glad I'm out of the business now.
And how's retirement? Are you enjoying it? What do you guys do? What do you do there? Tell me what happens in that side of the world when people retire.
It's like an empty void. You do nothing. Your life is before it's over. It's done.
Sounds like this show.
Yeah, Tony, it really explains why you called the show. It's our best demographic.
Yeah, sounds like this show. Your life is an empty void, and you thought, well, we might as well call the show.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Anything else on your mind, Tony, before we let you go? Tony, the approver of drunk Zamboni drivers, which, again, kids, don't do that at home.
David, listen, I just wanted to call, say hi. It's great to hear you on the radio again, and I wish you many more years on it and success.
Thank you. And Tony 5 probably too.
Yes, and Tony 5, absolutely. From London, right?
I can't believe I was an afterthought there from the man that used to hire drunken Zamboni drivers. Tony, it's been an honor and a pleasure, and thanks for listening. Guy, you take care.
Thank you, you too.
Well, Tony, I feel like Zamboni driver could actually be a great career for you.
I think Zamboni driver could be a name of a band that I'd go to.
Yeah. What kind of, like classic rock? I don't
know, like soft metal, like early 80s jazz. It's Zamboni driver here.
What about jazz versions of like sports, pick-me-up songs like da-na-na, like that kind of stuff?
I'm telling you. I mean, what qualifications do you need to be a Zamboni driver apart from not drinking?
That will be the cliffhanger for your appearance on this show next night, probably. What are the qualifications for a Zamboni driver? Tony 5 is our foreign correspondent in London, England. Tony, what a pleasure it was having you on the show today.
Fantastic, my friend. Au revoir.
The latest industry news from the technology sector coming up on the other side of the break, including AI cheating getting so out of hand in schools these days that the old blue books that you had to write in during exams are making a comeback. Retro writing technology to fight, well, the new reality of education these days. Details of it all in just a few moments.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
Summer's here, and Nordstrom has everything you need for your best dress season ever. From beach days and weddings to weekend getaways and your everyday wardrobe. Discover stylish options under $100 from tons of your favorite brands like Mango, Skims, Princess Polly, and Madewell. It's easy too with free shipping and free returns, in-store order pickup, and more. Shop today in stores, online at Nordstrom.com, or download the Nordstrom app.
Taste the forbidden fruit of knowledge. The last show with David Cooper.
How good are you at solving a Rubik's Cube? How good are robots? An answer we will get on It's Time for Technology Time with Carmi Levy, technology expert extraordinaire, who just returns back from a trying trip to Dryden, Ontario, where he escaped forest fires and smoke. I'm glad you made it. Welcome.
So am I. Glad to be back. Although I can't say the same for my lungs. I probably picked up a few cigarette packs worth of emissions while we were there. But sobering reminder that we live in a new era and we got to respect our forests, man.
I lived in San Francisco during the Camp Fire in, was it 2020?
Yeah.
Oh, no. It was a couple years before the pandemic.
Yeah, up to that time, it was the most destructive forest fire in U.S. history.
It was horrific and awful, and you couldn't leave the house. But I got to say, and I'm not advocating for people burning down forests at all, but I got to say, there was something beautiful about the eerie, orange, foggy, smoky, ashy skies. It was surreal. It was like I was trapped in hell. It was like I was in a movie and hell had been unleashed in all its gorgeous, awful glory. Destruction in nature can be oddly beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
And it was such a weird time.
I always feel weird saying it because in my spare time, some folks might know I'm a photographer. And so I often go out and shoot the sunrise and the sunset. And I'm really interested in just, really cool looking skies. And I've often said, forest fires make for incredible sunrises and sunsets. And I almost hate myself for thinking it because it's so tragic, yet it's you can't stop watching. It makes for, frankly, it saturates the light from a photographic perspective. They're some of the best sunrises and sunsets I've ever shot. And so, I don't know, like maybe when bad stuff happens, that's what we should be doing. We should be taking out our cameras. We should be telling the stories, and we should be appreciating what we have, because it can all be taken away in kind of a heartbeat.
It can. I had a car back then, and in the morning, there was like so much ash on the car, you needed like a snow brush to clear off the windows. It was so What an odd time. What a horrific fire. What an awful thing. But it's like on Planet Earth when David Attenborough narrates like a lion taking down a gazelle. It's horrific, but nature has an awesome beauty to its horrors, you know?
Yeah. And I think we need to remind ourselves that this is part of the cycle of nature. The problem here, it's just like flooding. Flooding has been happening since long before humans were around. Our problem, and in fact, our arrogance and perhaps conceit, is that we decided to build homes and businesses and cities in places where floods happen. And I think it's, you sort of have to think about all of the cities that we've built as well, adjacent to places that would also normally burn. This has been going on Earth for hundreds of millions of years, and it will likely continue for hundreds of millions of years long after we're around. So this is the way the planet works, and I think we have to get used to it, maybe be a little bit more aware of what's going on around us. That's not a bad thing. Awareness can go a long way.
All right, well, this has everything to do with Rubik's Cube, so that sets us up nicely. And that transition, Carmi, is why I'm the best in the biz.
I 100% with you there, David.
Have you ever been at a party and then there's some dude who pulls out a Rubik's Cube and then he solves it like it's no big deal in like 20 seconds?
Yeah, we hate those people. Yeah, they suck.
As if everyone in the party is going to be like, wow, you're so smart. You're the king of the party. It's like, no, get out of here, nerd. We know you practice in front of a mirror 7,000 times. But humans, Rubik's Cubes, computers got to be better at it. Robots, though, they have to physically move them and such. How good can robots get?
Well, they're way better than humans. So just to put it in perspective, the current world record holder, guy by the name of Xuanyi Zhang, he did it in 3.05 seconds. And now a group of students from Purdue University have just got the robotic world record in 0.103. So think about that. Computers can do it in 1/30th the time of a human. And I think that's pretty awesome.
I don't know that there was an exact day that computer chess algorithms could beat the grandmasters, and now it's impossible to beat a computer in chess. I remember when Kasparov played Deep Blue, IBM's computer, and it was like he won one, he lost one. Now they're even better to the point where no grandmaster can beat it. It's kind of sad the day that comes when these complicated human game problems like Go.
Yeah, which is apparently even more complex than chess. It's like chess cubed.
Anyway, now a computer can beat the game Go against everybody.
And I think these are good things. Like I think it's a good thing to pit computers against games that have vexed humans forever, because it provides an opportunity to, and you as a software developer appreciate this more than anyone else, to optimize code, to build new coding methodologies, to make the software better, make it more relevant and value added and effective for the rest of us. And so same thing with Rubik's Cube. In a way, it's kind of sad that computers are now better and robots are better than humans at solving Rubik's Cube. But what we learn along the way, both in creating the software and evolving the algorithms and creating the machinery, the motors, the controllers that recognize sort of the opportunities in optimizing this equation, because that's really what it is. Those learnings can be applied everywhere else as well, and they lead to better robotics, better software, better artificial intelligence and machine learning. And so, today we're talking about Rubik's Cube, but really this is universal technology that will make for a better car or a better smartphone or better software in future. And I think that's a good thing too.
Yeah, I think manipulating a Rubik's Cube is similar to manipulating pieces on an assembly line to build a car or a microwave or whatever the future of or present of manufacturing is.
Yeah. And what I like about this is that it's iterative, right? So for the last little over 10 years, since 2014, there has been a global movement to bring down the time of a robotic solving of Rubik's Cube. And so different teams from corporate, so Mitsubishi Electric in Japan was the last record holder last year, as well as schools, and Purdue University has taken over. Every year, they'll introduce new versions of their solution. So new materials, so things like carbon fiber and polymers and plastics and things like that. Those are materials science learning that can be applied elsewhere. And so every year that they'll introduce new methodologies to solve Rubik's Cube faster and try to beat everyone else. So it's been this sort of global effort to continue to bring those times down. And I have every expectation that the record now, it's 0.103, that it'll get even lower as time goes on, and they'll come up with new, frankly, revolutionary ways to get that done. and then they'll commercialize those technologies for the benefit of the rest of us.
Carmi, moving on. ChatGPT hallucinates sometimes. You ask it to do something for you, it does it convincingly, but the sources that it cited maybe aren't real, or what it tells you is possible in a certain arena, for example, maybe computer programming, you can't actually do it. It looks plausible, it's not. It's designed to give answers that are as close to the truth as possible. As a result, when it gives answers that are wrong, they still look as close to the truth as possible. That's fine for a bunch of things. What it's not fine for is citing legal cases in a court of law. And yet again, this has happened. Walk me through the story.
So this takes us to Utah. There's a law clerk. So he's not a lawyer yet, studying to be a lawyer. Filed a court filing with the court. Used ChatGPT, cut and pasted the results, and then, of course, it included cases that simply did not exist. It made them up, and this law clerk didn't check his work. This law clerk has lost a job. He's been fired and is also being investigated by the courts as well. How did they find out? They found citations in the copy that made it very clear this was generated by a chat bot, because it does leave telltale signs. If you know, you know. So yet another lesson, because we keep seeing in the legal community this happening, people cutting and pasting out of ChatGPT, and this guy got caught. What I find interesting is the law firm is throwing up its hands and saying, we're not responsible. It was his error, despite the fact they had no policies on hand for that clerk to follow. In other words, if you're an employer, you better make sure you have policies that explain what can and cannot be done with AI to your employees. Otherwise, you could find yourself on the wrong side of the legal curve.
On the one hand, fine. On the other hand, common sense. If you're going to use a chatbot to generate court stuff, maybe check the sources.
Well, you and I appreciate common sense. Clearly, a lot of people out there don't, and that's a problem. And in the age of AI, that can get you into a lot of trouble really quickly.
When we come back, AI cheating has gotten so out of hand in academia, schools are making weird changes. Will AI change the face of how we learn in university or not? That is what we'll discuss with Carmi Levy on It's Time for Technology Time. I am David Cooper, and the last show, this is...
I think you're on mute.
Workday's starting to sound the same.
I think you're on mute.
Find something that sounds better for your career on LinkedIn. With LinkedIn Job Collections, you can browse curated collections by relevant industries and benefits, like flex PTO or hybrid workplaces, so you can find the right job for you. Get started at linkedin.com/jobs. Finding where you fit. LinkedIn knows how.
We're here because your heightened awareness deserves heightened entertainment. The Last Show with David Cooper.
It is time for Technology Time with Carmi Levy. I just sounded like I was a game show host. With Carmi Levy, a technology expert in London. Which London, we'll never know. Well, I guess we do know.
You're a better Alex Trebek than Alex Trebek might have been, so good on you.
I had a caller on the show yesterday from London in Canada, where you live, and I have a regular guest. His name's Tony Five. He co-hosts the program every night for a portion of it. Mm-hmm. And Tony could not understand that she wasn't from London, England. He just kept on acting like she was. It was so stupid.
I get that all the time. Oh, the boring one. Oh, you don't have that cool accent. Sorry.
Not that boring. I've been. There's more boring places.
It's a lovely town, and our doors are always open.
And we learned a few weeks ago that your town has a town crier. Oh no, he died, didn't he? It had a town crier.
Yeah, his name was Bill Paul, and I freaked out in the best possible way when I moved here and realized we had a town crier, and I befriended him. I got to know him over time. He had me on his podcast. Nicest man in history, probably the loveliest ambassador London could have ever asked for, and sadly he passed away a couple years back.
Okay. Transitioning into this next topic really well. I was speaking with someone yesterday about VR in the classroom, which it's better than Zoom or video conferencing. It might be worse or different than in person, but regardless of what it is, it has the potential to change the face of education. Maybe not in 2 years, but definitely in 20 years. Remote learning is likely to be in virtual reality, where it's more immersive and you can get feedback and interact with people on an individual level. That aside, I think that's the smallest of our worries about education being reshaped in the next 20 years. Large language models are going to schools have not caught up, and most schools have no imagination for how to catch up, to catch students using this stuff to write papers or help them with assignments. And a little something called the Blue Book might be making its way back to some schools because of it. Do you remember Blue Books? Did they have them when you were in undergrad?
They did, and I dreaded them because, I would write these, they gave them to you for an exam, and you basically had to write an essay in this thing. And if you filled up the Blue Book, they gave you another one. And by the time the exam was over, your hand was covered with ink. And I remember that I can still feel a pain in my hand from that. I am not a long-form, longhand writer, and there's a reason why I switched to computers and keyboards as early as I did. And now we're seeing evidence from the Wall Street Journal. They started digging into sales figures for these Blue Books at various universities across the US, and they're showing double-digit increases in the sales of these things because the schools are recognizing that they've got exams. Students are using ChatGPT to fulfill the exams, and so what they're doing, if they're doing them remotely, so they're pulling the students back into exam rooms, and they're making them fill out these Blue Books by hand. So can't really use a chatbot if you're being forced to use a pen and paper. They're going the low-tech route. And this is consistent across the U.S. In Texas, Florida, California, 30 to 50% increases in the sales of this Blue Book. There's one company that sells them. The official version, it's called the Roaring Spring Paper Products. And they say their sales are through the roof. They're happy. But I guess if you're a student, probably not, because your hand's about to get covered with ink again.
I had heard, I don't know if it's true and where it's true, that young kids, I guess they're Gen Alphas now in primary school and middle school.
I don't know what they're called anymore. And now I sound like the old guy yelling at kids on their lawn. Come up with another label for another demographic group.
Yeah, why would they start with Gen X? Because there's only so many letters we can do, regardless.
Yeah. Let's pigeonhole people with a letter.
The generation in middle school, primary school, high school, they are not being taught in some places cursive.
Yeah.
And writing in general by hand is being de-emphasized.
Mm-hmm.
This could present a slight problem. Ask students to handwrite essays and don't give them computers, but they had been taught on the assumption that large language models wouldn't change everything, that computers were the best way to write things down.
Yeah.
It seems like we're headed for quite the shift in academia in the next few years. And I don't know that these institutions that are very conservative and backward thinking and not open to change so much, kind of are okay with the structure of the way education works now. It's working for us. We'll keep it that way. I don't know how many universities are prepared for this.
I don't think any of them are. I think a lot of them will say in their marketing material that they're at the leading edge of technology innovation in academia, in curriculum delivery. But the sad reality is they're still using methods to teach and to evaluate those teachings that have been in place for decades, if not longer. And they haven't kept up. And I think this is a perfect example of that AI is introduced. Large language models change the very nature of content creation. And schools are woefully unprepared for it. And as a result, they're wrestling with AI-driven plagiarism. They're wrestling with students who are not developing the appropriate skills to take advantage of these technologies. And they're also leaving behind those skills that served them well in earlier generations. So they're not able to write cursive. They're not able to write longhand. And so when the technology fails, they don't have a fallback. It's a recipe for disaster. And I think, frankly, schools need to get with the program, and education ministries at all levels. It's not just a college and university thing. It's all levels from primary on up that need to ask themselves, are we ready for this technology age? And are we preparing kids appropriately, both for the technologies they use, as well as, do they have a plan B when those technologies aren't available?
Yeah. And how could we rethink teaching knowing that these tools are available and yet still making teaching a worthwhile endeavor where students learn to solve problems? These are the big questions that are going to come up that I don't think we're ready for, because I don't have good answers. Everyone has their own theory on it, but what works? What do we know works? But regardless of what we think and what we can do, this technology is here and it's getting better, and it's going to and is changing things for the different. I don't know the better or the worse, but for the different.
Yeah.
Let's talk the cost of these technologies. And I want people to think twice before they go on to like ChatGPT or Claude AI or any website like this. And they ask it the question like, should I wear the red dress or the blue suit today? Because there's this hidden cost to it. Even if they're free, it uses an exorbitant amount of electricity. So much so that it could use more electricity than cryptocurrency, the cryptocurrency Bitcoin, by the end of 2025. For those that don't know, Bitcoin, the last I heard, uses about as much electricity as the nation of Thailand. Okay? It's one Thailand's worth of electricity to keep Bitcoin.
And they use a lot of energy because they're a huge manufacturing power.
They are. On the one hand, okay, that's a ton of electricity wasted. But on the other, companies are exploring using mini nuclear reactors for their private data centers. And also, I would argue that large language models are less wasteful in terms of like what value they bring humanity than Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly. You have to sort of think of if Bitcoin is going to make some crypto bros a few $1 billion, while they scam millions of other people, it's safe to argue that the value to humanity is somewhat limited, whereas at least with a chat bot, for example, it gives people answers in much the same way that Google did in a previous generation. So, but we have to sort of recognize that every time we use one of these largely cloud-based services, because most large language models have at least some basis in the cloud, we are causing some computer in some data center far away to really churn its heart out. The average ChatGPT prompt uses 10 times as much energy as a Google search request. And that's just for text-based. Once you start asking it to make photos or generate videos or do anything in multimedia, clone a voice, those energy needs go up even more from there. So you add that up, and as AI advances, it is rapidly becoming the biggest consumer of energy. Tech companies are all investing hundreds of billions of dollars in new data centers, AI-powered data centers, and energy infrastructure to power them. So you mentioned nuclear. Microsoft has a deal to restart the 3 Mile Island plant to fuel its new data centers. Amazon, Google, they're all doubling down on this. And so it's not that we can't do this or we shouldn't do this. I think it's already happening. But at least we need to recognize that whenever you decide to play with creating new videos on ChatGPT or Google Gemini, that's causing some energy use somewhere. And it is significant. And you multiply that by the billions of requests being made every day. And suddenly we've got this new energy era. And it's kind of scary that most of us aren't aware of it.
Carmi Levy is a technology expert. He joins us every week. What a pleasure it was having you, Carmi. I appreciate your time.
Always so great being with you, David. Thanks for having me.
For technology time. Because I said time and then...
Sorry, I'm a little slow today. It's the lack of sleep.
After the break, if you don't cuddle with your significant other before bed, you run the risk of feeling insecure and stressed. Don't believe me? Find out more in a moment. I'm David Cooper. This is The Last Show.
With a Venmo debit card, you can Venmo more than just your friends. You can use your balance in so many ways. You can Venmo everything. Need gas? You can Venmo this. How about snacks? You can Venmo that. Your favorite band's merch? You can Venmo this. Or their next show? You can Venmo that. Visit venmo.me/debit to learn more.
You can Venmo this, or you can Venmo that. You can Venmo this, or you can Venmo that. You can Venmo.
The Venmo MasterCard is issued by the Bancorp Bank N.A. pursuant to license by MasterCard International Incorporated. Card may be used everywhere MasterCard is accepted. Venmo purchase restrictions apply.
Prepare to have your mind blown as we delve into the complexities of relationships, explore the cutting edge of science, and celebrate the bizarre and beautiful absurdity of the world around us. This is The Last Show with David Cooper.
I'll admit it, I'm not a before-bed cuddler. I like my space, I like my limbs, I like to sleep like a man hiding from intimacy under a blanket of denial. And if you're like me, if you love your partner but need a restraining order after 10 p.m., tonight's interview might make you rethink things. Because get this, couples who cuddle at bedtime report less stress and more emotional security. So are you a bedtime cuddler, or are you like me, emotionally available until about 9:45. I'm here with Dr. Josh Novak, who worked on research on this topic. He's an associate professor at Auburn University and a couples therapist. Josh, my goodness, welcome in.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
I was so excited to talk to you when I saw about your paper because when I'm sleeping, I'm South Korea, my girlfriend's North Korea. Not politically, but just that there's a DMZ between us and there's no crossing it.
Sure.
Why study this at all? It's a fun topic. What made you want to look into it seriously?
Yeah, just because everybody does have their own, preference in how they sleep and what they prefer, if they want to, touch or cuddle at night or not. So really looking at does cuddling improve or affect your relationship? Does it improve or affect your, stress, your perceived stress?
Bedtime science.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
You found in your study that people who fly solo are reporting slightly negative things. Were you surprised by these findings, and what exactly were they saying?
It's actually a little bit more than that. It's, the closeness. So the actual position that you sleep in when you cuddle, is that related to kind of that relational security and stress? And we did find that the closer you are, meaning kind of like spooning versus like intertwined and face-to-face, is more related to that safety and that stress level.
I feel slightly attacked, and I know my sister sometimes listens to the show, but I don't mean to brag. I'm an ugly adult, but I was a cute kid. And my sister never stopped grabbing me and hugging me, like to the point where she would come home from school and I'd be a toddler and I'd see her and I'd run.
Yeah.
As an adult, I don't like to be confined. I like to have my space.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What are some of the reasons why people don't like cuddling? Surely there must be good ones.
Tons. And a lot of it like temperature, right? I get hot, stuffy. And so, any sort of contact at night can, increase your temperature. And then it's like, I got to get out of here. I need cold. I need coolness. Or I've been in the same position for 10 minutes. I need to shift my body a little bit. And so my study, we looked at like sleep at onset. So cuddling position as you fall asleep. It doesn't mean you're cuddling the whole night.
Okay. Well, what were some of the findings? Did you categorize people into like not cuddling at all, cuddling kind of close, cuddling very close? And what did you find in each categorization? That's a big word. I said it right.
Yeah. Each partner reported that sleep position. So it was like touching an arm or a leg versus not touching at all, or back to back versus, again, different spooning positions, intertwined, and then face to face. And it really was the ones that are not touching at all, or just an arm or a leg. Their stress was higher and their relationship security was lower.
Oh, man. It's really just that simple? Is the antidote just spooning more, cuddling before bed or at sleep onset and then going your separate ways?
Yes, at sleep onset. And so this study really kind of implicates like, okay, so, right, because we know sleep and relationships, it's bidirectional. If you don't sleep well, you're more likely to fight with your partner. And then if you're fighting with your partner, you're not able to fall asleep. Maybe this study kind of raised the questions like, okay, you don't figure out your conflict at night, and then you maybe put a pin on it. Hey, let's figure this out tomorrow when we're well rested. Let's cuddle, let's snuggle up to each other. And that could be, again, increasing that sense of security. We didn't figure out the conflict or resolve it yet, but hey, we can reassure each other in this physical presence.
My goodness. So spooning might be nature's anxiety medication, which is...
That's right.
Also, I don't mean to get in the gutter here, but spooning can be an exciting position, which to me is it goes against sleep. So that's another worry, right?
Sure. It depends who's the big spoon, who's the little spoon, maybe.
Yeah, I never get to be little spoon. I should raise the complaint here.
Yeah, you should try it.
We got more problems. Okay, my girlfriend snores, airing the dirty laundry. I have my childhood traumas.
Sure.
I like to run colder than she does when we sleep. Mm-hmm. I feel like I have a million excuses.
Sure.
But I just don't like it. What would you say to someone like me? Am I doomed to have these negative impacts on my relationship?
Not necessarily, but maybe start out small, right? Start touching an arm or leg just at night, right? Doing some physical affection before, and then you each go to your separate sides, North Korea, South Korea, and that might
bad help. Analogy. All right, Greek and what is it? Greek and Turk Cypriot. I don't know. I'm just picking world conflicts, so maybe I should stop.
There you go. Yeah.
Any interesting findings that surprised you when you started doing this research?
Yeah, there's another one that's your individual sleep position. So whether you sleep on your stomach, your side, or your back, that wasn't related to your preferred cuddle sleep position. So it really is that relational focus, right? So it doesn't matter if you sleep on your backside or stomach, it's cuddling, as you're falling asleep. And then again, you go back to your preferred sleeping way. That one wasn't related. So that was a little interesting why. But it, again, just shows that cuddling at night is really important.
Is it really just that simple? Like, I feel like there's got to be more to it.
It is.
There's got to be excuses. I want to fall under one. Also, arms fall asleep.
That's right.
If I sleep with my arm under someone's head, I got pins and needles. That can't be good for my health.
No. And then finding ways that, you can minimize some of that stuff. Or, your partner prefers heavier blankets. Maybe just put a sheet on and still cuddle so you can still be cold a little bit. Yeah, that could work too. So try to, figure out some of those ways and methods that might work best.
Talk to me about the my side versus your side boundary on the bed. Is there some special meaning there?
Yeah.
Like that center imaginary line, or let's be honest, in my bed, it's, 2/3 her side, 1/3 my side. I don't want to talk about it.
Sure.
That boundary, is there some significance of it?
Not necessarily like a even split. Some people sleep with pets in the bed, and they're all implicated up in there. But really, it is kind of just that routine and that safety of this is my side. I know that when I sleep this way, the fan or the alarm clock is here. Really, it is just about like it's something that I'm so used to and comfortable with, and that is what then again is with safety, with security.
Is it a metaphor for like intimacy in our daily life, that line? If it's a really strict line, do we have problems being intimate with each other? Or am I reading too much into this?
It could be. It depends how you communicate, how you talk about it.
What's next in the world of studying couples who sleep together and their patterns? I imagine this is kind of a niche field.
Yeah. Not many people study this, but sleep is one of the most important. It's your superpower, right? And so being able to see what is related to better sleep, worse sleep, better relationships, that's all the stuff that I look at. Really, the next step is to see, okay, if we put couples under this, like a study, a test to see, let's have you cuddle and see what happens there. To really look at this real time. Most of the sleep research, doesn't look at this and video filming or whatever with couples. And really, we got to see, how does this happen across the night? How long do they stay in these cuddle sleep positions? And how's that related to their relationship?
Well, Dr. Josh Novak is an associate professor at Auburn University and a couples therapist. Josh, I didn't have you on the show to get unsolicited couples therapy for free, but assuming I did, what would you recommend I do? Just bite the bullet and try to be open to cuddling more?
Bite the bullet, talk with your partner, see how it impacts your relationship, right? It might not improve your sleep quality or make it worse, but it could improve your relationship and your sense of stress. So that's worth it.
Oh my God, I hope my girlfriend Miranda's out with her friends right now and not listening. Josh, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it.
Now might be a time to inform you, listener, that if you like what you hear, but you're just tuning in, or you're not going to be with us the whole night, and you want to know what you missed, good news, The Last Show is available as a podcast. Just head to www.lastshow.pizza. That's .pizza, not .com. And there you can find out details about our podcast, subscribe, and all that other stuff. Like follow. I don't know. It'll be fun, probably. Coming up on the other side of the break, you'll be excited to dive into the science of the poo zoo, how scientists are using dung to save endangered species. It's my kind of topic. One half fun, one half inappropriate, and one half educational. Wait, is that too many halves?
Want to be part of The Last Show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
The spirit of innovation is deeply ingrained in America, and Google is helping Americans innovate in ways both big and small. The Air Force Research Laboratory is partnering with Google Cloud using AI to accelerate defense research for air, space, and cyberspace forces. This is a new era of American innovation. Find out more at g.co/American innovation.
The Last Show with David Cooper. Procrastinate your life away with us.
They say you can't polish a poop, but can you clone one? Scientists have found a way to use animal, dung to help save endangered species. If this works, conservation might involve a little more scooping than we ever imagined. I'm here with someone who's worked on that. Her name is Professor Suzannah Williams. She humorously styles herself as the Professor of Ovaries. She works at Oxford University. Suzannah, oh my goodness, thank you for being here.
Absolutely. I'm really pleased to be here. Excited to talk about the work we're doing.
I am imagining a bunch of scientists in a lab having a conversation, thinking about using animal poop to help save endangered species. Honestly, this sounds almost unbelievable. Where does this idea even come from?
Well, it came out of a fortuitous conversation where the wonderful lady called Ashley Hutchinson from Revive and Restore, which is a funding body in the States, and we had a workshop on stem cells a couple of years back, and we got chatting. And she came to me one day, we were talking about what we could do to work on endangered species and conservation. And she said, I've had this idea. It's called the poo zoo. And I said, you what? And I said, go on, talk to me. And she went, well, we could, maybe, is it possible, collect cells from poo? And I went, it's brilliant. I want to do it. Can I do this project? So we worked together and basically created a project, the original concept was her idea, but we've worked as a team since. And I've developed the project and we're working on it and leading it at Oxford.
I got to go to Jurassic Park where they play with cloning and a disaster happens. And somebody says in the movie, your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. Do you think this quote applies here?
Definitely not.
Good.
Because I'm not in Jurassic Park.
Fair enough. Okay, so how does it all work? How do you take poop and turn it into something useful for conservation?
So basically, this is under a concept we started using mice. So there has actually been published research where they collected cells from mouse poop. So if you think about it, you've got this poop that goes through the gut and it comes out the other end. And while it goes through the gut, it's basically collecting cells from the side of the gut. So when it gets pooped out, you have the poop, but it also has cells from the animal, right?
Right.
So that was the original premise that existed in mice. And it was and it's been shown, one group research ages ago, and it was like, oh, could we do this for more interesting species? Because then you've got the perfect non-invasive sampling technique for animals that you don't want to anesthetize. I mean, do you want me to walk up to a tiger and go, excuse me, Mr. Tiger, can I have a bit of your ear to have a look at it? Can I have a bit of your skin? They're not going to say yes. So if we could collect it non-invasively, how cool would that be?
It would be extremely cool. You wouldn't have to shoot them with tranquilizer darts or harm them or interfere with them. And for some animals that are extremely endangered, that's a good thing, not bothering them.
Exactly. So, for example, if you need to get samples from elephants, so that's what we've been working on recently, all of the elephants in Africa, you're not exactly going to walk up to them and get a bit. It's just not feasible without tranquilizers, helicopters, darts, money, expense, and a lot of anxiety for the animals.
Walk me through how ventilation works in this poo zoo, because I assume it smells not amazing.
So you've got the wrong idea, mate. You really do. So basically, it's a case of we work in a lab. And actually, the samples that come into the lab are clean cells. So we have a staging post. So we've got a collaboration with Chester Zoo, which is a brilliant zoo in the UK. They do amazing research, absolutely game-changing people. And the lady I work with there is a lady called Dr. Sue Walker. And there's a lady who I now know called Rhiannon Bolton, who I met. And she now is a part of my team. And she is the one that goes into Chester Zoo and liaises with the wonderful staff at Chester Zoo and arranges to be able to get poo samples. So in the lab at Chester Zoo, she does get handed literally the dung. There you go, have some poop. And so with the poop, then she works with that to try and get some cells. And then she purifies them, isolates them, and then that's what gets shipped to Oxford. Clean samples of cells.
And how does this help us with conservation, having a bank of animals' DNA or genetic material? How can this help us in the future with conservation?
So there's three possibilities that we can use these cells for that we can think of at the moment, and there's probably more in the future. The first one is a really simple genetic analysis. So being able to analyze the genetics of an individual is really quite important. So for example, you don't want to breed brothers and sisters, or you don't want to breed aunties and uncles. You want to know that they're genetically very different. So if you want to know their genetics, you need to analyze their genetics to be able to go, right, you two would be great to breed together to increase genetic diversity. And we want good genetic diversity because it makes individuals really robust and they're very good at preventing getting diseases and infections because they're really robust in their genetics. They're not this tiny little pool. So that's reason number one. Reason number two, I don't know if you've heard of cloning.
I have. The sheep, I've heard of it. Dolly, was it? I was around in the 90s.
Dolly. So in the more recent years, there's been Revive and Restore, again, the guys that have funded this project, they've been involved in cloning the black-footed ferret, which is a highly endangered animal in the States. And what they did was they took cells out of the freezer. And what you do is you basically have the egg from one ferret, so an egg that's about to get fertilized, and you can take the nucleus out of that. So you remove the DNA, and then from your cells, your donor cells, you can take the DNA from that and stick it in the egg. So effectively, you're swapping the DNA into the egg for the one that you want to make. And that's one way of making clones. So that's something we could do if we had these cells that were in a bank. So we'd be able to take those cells and make clones. That's one option. The third one is super cool, highly technical, and not always possible. So the other one is the fact that, did you know that in mice, in a Japanese lab, they've created this technology where you can take cells from the skin of a mouse, you can make them into stem cells, then you can make them into eggs and sperm, and then you can fertilize and get new babies.
So you can take just a DNA sample and then create a baby from it?
Not DNA sample, a cell sample.
Got it.
Got it? It has to be a live cell, but a live cell, and they were able to transform it and dedifferentiate it into making eggs and sperm, which become live offspring.
Wow.
So you can make a new individual from that. Now that's super cool.
Suzannah, somehow you've taken collecting animal dung and making a poo zoo from it and tucked in something of high interest and high educational value. That truly is a skill, and I'm with you. Let's keep going.
Excellent. I'm loving this. So basically what they've done is the Japanese group is now working on trying to do this same technique that they've done in mice into rhino. It's proving quite challenging, but they're working on it and they're making really good progress. So if we then are able to isolate these samples, we then have this potential ability in the future when they can work out that technology for other species as well.
But we got to have the bank of it, and that's what you guys are doing.
So far we've successfully isolated mouse cells, and we've also successfully isolated elephant cells.
I love this. It is making me have to go to the bathroom, but I love this. Are there any challenges of getting, animals that are hard to find their dung samples? Is the goal to do this around the world, or are we just doing this in a limited capacity right now?
No, I see a really, really practical use for this. So, for example, at the moment, there are breeding programs of elephants. And what they want to do is increase the genetic diversity of elephants in captivity. So what they've been doing is going to Africa, anesthetizing male elephants, collecting semen samples ready to be banked for use in captive breeding programs. Now, if you were able to sample the dung and get the cells from each of those elephants, you could be really, really targeted and go, hang on, that's the elephant we want. Not have the 10 that we can see. We can only target one. So you could actually do this analysis in advance, which would make it more efficient, know who you want to do, get the samples you want, boom, bash, job done. We're actually doing real cool translational science in the field.
So it's less invasive and you can collect samples from way more individual animals. Who'd have thought poo could be the solution to, extinction of certain animals?
I know. So I think also the other thing that I've got as an idea, which I haven't really spoken about much, is if you think about it, you can also get it from animals which are really elusive. Mm-hmm. So think about snow leopards, right? Not that we've done successfully this, but snow leopards, they only ever capture them on cams, right? Cameras set up there, which they have the catch cams. So for example, if you put those things up, you're never going to get near the animal, but you could literally find where they do their poop because they often do it in the same place as scent marking. So you literally go, hang on, it's done one. So rather than even look for the animal, you could then go and get this fresh sample and do the genetic analysis without actually ever having to be invasive for the species in any which way.
Well, Suzannah, thanks for educating us here. Thanks for having a little fun with me on this topic, and I really appreciate your time.
No, it's been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Professor Suzannah Williams is a professor of ovaries at Oxford University. After the break, do kids take rewards right away, or can they engage in delayed gratification for better rewards? And what happens if they're working with another kid? What happens when kids are in it together? Are they jerks, or do they cooperate? Answers in just a few moments.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
The NBA playoffs are here, and I'm getting my bets in on FanDuel. Talk to me, Chuck GPT. What do you know? All sorts of interesting stuff, even Charles Barkley's greatest fear. Hey, nobody needs to know that.
New customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. 21 plus and present in Virginia. Must be first online real money wager. $5 deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The human algorithm, where emotional inputs create unexpected outputs. The Last Show with David Cooper.
Some of life's biggest lessons can be learned from a single marshmallow. Or at least that's what decades of psychology research suggested. What am I talking about? Delayed gratification. Why do kids go for a reward right away? And why are some willing to wait? And how does cooperation come into play? And if you're confused, it'll all become clear when we start talking about the marshmallow experiment here with Dr. Owen Waddington, a psychology researcher at the University of Manchester. Owen, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
The Stanford Marshmallow Experiment. This is something that was studied decades ago. Why is it a big deal in psychology? Also, more importantly, what is it?
So the marshmallow test, which, as you say, came around, I think, in the 1970s, is basically a really simple, really nice, easy, user-friendly test where you essentially just provide a child some kind of reward, traditionally a marshmallow, and you say, right, there's one. If you wait a certain period of time, maybe 10, 15 minutes, when I come back in the room, I'll give you 2 marshmallows. So it's the ability to where the children can delay gratification, so resist the temptation of having that initially available reward, that one marshmallow, in the hopes that they may later then receive a larger, more significant delayed reward going forward. So that's essentially the marshmallow test in a nutshell. It's a super easy test to run, and it's something that I think we as psychologists find very entertaining with what you see. And I think the larger population generally find it really entertaining. You will have seen millions of clips of children trying to do this, parents doing it with their children at home and so forth. So it's a really accessible, interesting test that provides us with some insight into children's ability to manage their impulses to resist temptation, which is something we all do in our everyday lives to different extents.
I completely agree. Some people are impulsive. They want the quick reward with no regard for the destruction of the future of their life. And some people are willing to put in the work. That's kind of where it stood. And the learnings from that experiment, if you could summarize them very quickly, and then we'll get to how you did a kind of an interesting twist on the experiment.
Yeah, so one of the things that, so a few years after the marshmallow study became really popular, there was some research to suggest that children who were able from a young age to delay gratification were more successful later in life, they lived more fulfilled lives and so forth. Now, there is evidence to suggest that there is maybe a lack of nuance in that. Sometimes it is more complicated, like anything in psychology. It can be, for example, the environment that children grow up in can have a huge impact. You can imagine if you are familiar with adults breaking promises that you commit to you, but then break those commitments, you may be more skeptical than an experimenter who offers you a later reward. So you might not delay. Similarly, if you come from a family with lots of siblings, you probably wouldn't leave a reward hanging around because a sibling might snatch it up.
That's me. You can't imagine what happened when my mom bought like sweet sugared cereal, like junky cereal. Once a year, she would buy it as a gift to us. The first sibling that saw it would hide the box.
Exactly that, yeah. And so it's an important skill. It can be really useful, but it isn't necessarily the be all and end all. If your child can't do this, they're not going to be successful.
You added a really interesting twist because in life, we're not just alone. We're a part of a community. We have people we're accountable to. You paired kids together in this experiment. Walk me through what that looked like and what the children did.
Yeah, so basically what we did instead was traditionally the marshmallow test is done with a single child, single outcome. We paired children together. Now, in fact, this, what we call a confederate child, so it's a child who's in on the game and knows what's going on. This was actually a pre-recording of Liam, who's one of the children of one of the co-authors on the paper, no less. We pre-recorded it, obviously, because it would make it much easier on Liam than having to attend every single test session. But essentially, we paired them with Liam, this confederate child, and we told them that in this instance, their outcomes were interdependent, such that if either child ate their treat, then neither would get a second one. And if they've both waited, then they'd both get that larger delayed reward. So that was one of the key differences that we added to it. And what then also happened was that the Confederate child, Liam, would provide a brief utterance. So he either promised that he would wait to suggest that he's some kind of trustworthy, reliable partner, or he expressed uncertainty or indecision, basically, not sure that he'd be able to wait the full time. And we look to see how the participant child responded to those utterances.
This sounds like a game theory thing. So what did you find when these children were able to cooperate to get a delayed reward together? Or at least that's what the test subject thought. Of course, Liam wasn't attending every session. I hope you gave him a marshmallow, side note.
Yeah, so he, in fact, he had a cookie in front of him, which he had to sit there, obviously record it, and then we allowed him to have it afterwards. So yeah, basically what we saw was that when children were presented with Liam, who gave this promise, this commitment that he would wait, children were more likely to hold out. They were more likely to resist the temptation, the pull of the marshmallow. And younger children especially were more likely to wait the entire term, which was kind of a finding we didn't expect, that younger children were better in some sense than older children in the study. But nevertheless, promises were a really strong facilitator of children's delayed gratification.
Anything surprise you about the individual children in the experiment? This is kind of interesting. You've added this cooperative element to it.
Yeah, I think so. There's a couple of things that we really saw. I think the first thing was that every child bought into Liam being genuinely there, because we were slightly concerned that some children might catch on. They all believed it, to the point where when I would leave the room, as it were, some of the children would try and talk to Liam, even though we tell them that they couldn't talk to Liam because there were issues with Zoom. They would still try. So they would say things like, "Please, Liam, don't eat your treat." And there were a couple of children would say something like, "He's not going to wait." This inner monologue that they have with themselves. And it was just really interesting to see such a breadth in this skill. So some children were so good at the task that to certain points I thought the camera had malfunctioned, it froze, and they were so still. Whereas other children found it more difficult. They would eat it straight away. We told them to stay in their seats so they didn't run around. Some children didn't do that. Obviously, they were climbing the desks, playing all sorts. We even had a child who, I think it was around Christmas time that we tested her, so she took the opportunity to practice her carol singing, so that we saw anything and everything during this.
By and large, what did kids do? Do you think when there's accountability, somebody else who you'd be joining in some delayed gratification with? I'm imagining like an analogy, parents working together in a team in an office, or these kinds of scenarios do play out where your delayed gratification is based on a group cooperating. What did the kids mostly do?
There was a huge variety, but generally speaking, they were more inclined when Liam was present, especially when he promised to wait. And so there were different things they would do to manage that. We tried to ensure that parents removed any kind of distractions from the room, because obviously this was done at home, which was something novel in the study. So there are more distractions in the home environment. And so we asked parents to try and remove any natural distractions. Still, children would do all sorts. They'd put their hands over their eyes. We had some children that would pull things off the table. God knows what they were doing, but they were looking for some way of distraction themselves during the task.
Interesting. What do you think this tells us about how kids understand trust in each other?
Interesting question. So I think, for one, it suggests that children, we know that they're quite inclined to cooperate with others. They enjoy to interact with others. And so that's one thing I think this study really helps us to show, is the power of cooperation. I think also the second thing it shows is the power of promises. So children understand the importance of promises, and so felt that they could place more faith into Liam by his act of promising. So I think it shows that children are very cooperative by their nature, and also understand obligations and what it means to make some kind of promise or commitment to other people.
Finally, let's be honest. If someone did this experiment with you, would you go? Because for me, it's like, well, I only want to eat one marshmallow. I'm an old man. I'm going to feel sick if I eat too many sweets. I might just go for it and screw you in the process. What would you do?
As a child, I bet I would have eaten it straight away. I come from there's 4 siblings in my family, so I would have eaten it straight away. As an adult, I'd like to think I would wait, but bets are off there.
I'm the youngest of 4. Like, it was, if you ever read the book Lord of the Flies, that's basically the environment I grew up in. Dr. Owen Waddington is a psychology researcher at the University of Manchester. Owen, thank you for sharing the revised, the modified, the altered marshmallow experiment with us.
A pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay, get ready for it. We are about to have an absolute legend. My favorite artist, the world's worst artist. This guy's gone viral for his terrible paintings, and I absolutely worship him. You are going to love this hilarious guest who will be on in just a few moments.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
Oh, it's such a clutch pickup, Dave.
I was worried we'd bring back the same team.
I meant those blackout motorized shades.
Blinds.com made it crazy affordable to replace our old blinds.
Hard to install?
No, it's easy. I installed these and then got some for my mom, too. She talked to a design consultant for free and scheduled a professional measure and install.
Hall of Fame son.
They're the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings in the world.
Blinds.com is the GOAT.
The GOAT!
Save up to 50% with minimum purchase at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Smart, sharp, and slightly unhinged. Late night's fresh perspective. The last show with David Cooper.
Art is what you can get away with. Either McLuhan or Warhol said that, and people have called our next guest an artistic giant, a savant, a creative genius, an iconoclast, a once-in-a-generation visionary. And all of those people have been me. I have here, at first glance, an average man, an Englishman, an accountant who's a hobbyist painter. And some time ago, he was trying to paint a heartfelt portrait for his wife. But that portrait accidentally became a viral sensation for, well, how awful it was. But don't feel bad for the guy. His terrible art has become so insanely popular, people are lining up to look at his abstract potatoes on canvas. He has been described by some as the world's worst artist, not by me. His name is Lee Matthias. Jamie, how's that for an introduction?
Absolutely perfect, David. Thank you so much. Yeah, we could end that right there.
I just spent a minute talking about what a legend you are. Let's start here with the obvious. How does it feel to know that you have an artistic gift, just maybe not in the way you thought it was?
To be honest, it feels very surreal. What I'm enjoying the most is that people are enjoying the art. And I think you said art is subjective, but people seem to be enjoying the sort of quirkiness of it. And it's fantastic that other people are enjoying the terribleness of what I'm putting down on those canvases.
Let's talk about that first painting that caught everyone's eye. Paint a portrait for me, if you will.
So the idea was to paint a portrait of myself and my wife on our wedding day, because she was giving me a lot of banter about how bad I was and that nobody would ever want one in the house. So I said, well, I will paint us one on our wedding day and we will put it in the living room wall for all to see. So I painted that as part of the wedding speech that I did, and the kids brought it out and gifted it to her, and it looked nothing like Kate. So she was quite disappointed in that, shall we say, but it went down an absolute storm. It was hilarious. So that it sort of grew arms and legs from there. She still won't hang it on the living room wall.
How do we go from a bad painting that's a laugh between your wife and you to a viral sensation?
So from that, I decided, because I very much enjoy painting, I really find it relaxing, especially after work and around the kids, and the kids enjoy it. We do it together. I decided I would paint parents, in-laws, friends and family, that sort of thing. And I gifted them all on Christmas Day. And as they were opening them, it sort of dawned on us that the reactions, we've got a couple of photos of people opening it and having a look at the picture that it should be next to what I had created, a masterpiece or a monstrosity, whichever way you look at it. And just those reactions of people like proper belly laughing was sort of enough to make us think, let's stick it out there. The power of the internet nowadays. And yeah, people have gone absolutely crazy for it.
I've often pondered, is bad art art? And I think the answer to that question is a definitive yes. It doesn't have to be good for it to be art. But you've been quoted as saying you don't mean to paint badly. At what point do you realize what you're painting is now comedy gold for your family, for your extended family, and now everyone who's come into contact with you?
Yeah, I genuinely, David, when I put the picture next to my canvas on my phone, I set out to paint that to the best of my ability. It's just that the ability is lacking. That's I don't try and make it comical. I don't emphasize any body parts to try and make them funny. I draw it as I see it, as my left hand will allow me, shall we say. And it just so happens that comedy of it, yeah, people are absolutely loving.
What? What possesses you to do it? You really do get joy from it?
So it was the relaxation side of it, first of all, because we did it as a family activity. It was a nice sort of bonding experience. But painting these pictures, that the pictures that people are sending in are hilarious pictures because they know that they will come out badly. So the laughter that it's bringing to me, to the wife, to the kids when we're doing it, it's such a mood lifter after a busy day at work or, a stressful day with life, to sit down and try and recreate a beautiful family photo. And for me to absolutely ruin it is just hilarious.
You've got such a good sense of humor about your own work. And it seems like we were talking before I started rolling here, and you expressed genuine glee when one newspaper article called you the world's worst artist. I couldn't think of someone with a better attitude and outlook on this stuff for it to happen to. And so it's just a pleasure talking to you. But let's talk about what has happened. How are people reacting to your work? What are people on the internet saying? Forget about the articles. Let's talk about the individual people who are reaching out. What are people saying?
Yeah, the people that are reaching out are echoing probably what I've said. They're finding it that's bringing joy and laughter to them. And not only are people ordering these, but once they're receiving them and opening them. So my wife packages it up with the original photo. We print it off and put it in the thing. So when they open it up, they see the original.
The reference photo.
Yeah, exactly that, David. Yeah. And then they're filming those reactions. So people are sending us those moments of pure joy so that we can enjoy it as well. So that for us is absolutely fantastic. But the comments that people are sending in, a few people have expressed a little concern that I might get better. There's a little bit of worry out there.
Yeah, I mean, when I started doing long format interviews, not that I'm good now, but 10 years ago, I was brutally bad. But I felt like I was an artist who wanted to get better. And the only way you get better at something, I think, I mean, I guess you could be lucky and be born a prodigy, but in most cases, the way you get better at something creative is by doing it. And that's, I guess, the worry here. You might actually develop more talent and ruin the thing that made you popular in the first place.
Yeah, we've decided that if years down the line or months down the line this is still going and there is an improvement, we may just change the Facebook page to Average Art by Jamie Lee rather than Terrible Art.
I don't want to get overly deep here, but we live in bizarre times. There's a lot of global and probably local and national in the UK, here in the US, where I'm from originally in Canada, news that brings people distress. And there's uncertainty, economic, all kinds of things that people are struggling with now. It is kind of nice to be creating something from scratch that's bringing people joy. And when people write and they send you these reaction videos, I know it's silly, but it must be nice to feel like you're contributing to something nice in people's lives who some of these people might not have a lot of nice stuff going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you've seen just from our very brief chat, I don't take myself too seriously, neither do the family. We like to laugh. So to be able to share some of that with people around the world, which is where it's gone at the moment, which is just crazy to say, to be able to share that joy is fantastic.
What do you think you could get for your paintings? Like, what are people paying? Are they in high demand? I feel like you could make a killing right now.
They're in high demand, but the price is very reasonable. In fact, it's very cheap. So we charge £25 for just a single portrait of one person, and the highest price we charge is about £45, and then there's postage costs on top of that. So it's not a lot of money, but I feel like it's better to bring joy to the masses rather than hike the price up and sell less at this moment. So,
are you backlogged? Like, what's the lead time on an order right now? I know people are crazy about your work.
We've got, I think we're about 95, 96 commissions. Maybe the wife's in charge of checking the orders, but yeah, we're close to 100 people. We've said sort of 6 weeks wait, and people are absolutely fine with that, which shows that that there's definitely a demand for it, which is again beautiful to see.
I've talked a lot about other people's reactions to your work. Your reaction to what's happening. You were on a major radio show in the UK. You're getting all this media attention. People love you. You're doing all these interviews. I myself being the worst one you'll do throughout your media tour. How do you feel about this?
To be honest, it's such an experience. I've never done anything like this, nor had a desire to do anything like this. So it's absolutely phenomenal. I mean, for me, just to say, the people that are giving me the chance to share this with them, it's amazing. So yeah, we are very much enjoying it in this house, and yeah, it's really nice to see.
Jamie, you're an absolute legend.
Thank you.
You, without saying the words, you implicitly ask the deep questions. What is art? And I think defiantly, you create art in a big way, more than some of the great painters, I would say. I'm amongst one of the greats. I'm so pleased you came and graced the show with your presence. Good luck to you. Where can people find your art online? Where can I commission an original Jamie Lee Matthias?
Facebook, Terrible Art by Jamie Lee, and the same on Instagram. We have got a TikTok and a Twitter pages, Terrible Art by Jamie Lee. Check out some of the work. It's unbelievable. It will put a smile on your face, and you can order through there.
Jamie, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much.
Jamie Lee Matthias, he is an artiste extraordinaire, and there he goes, gracing the show with his presence. That is the show. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget, The Last Show is available as a podcast. Just head to www.lastshow.pizza. That's lastshow.pizza, not .com, and there you can find out details on how to subscribe and more. Not sure what more is, but there's more. I'm David Cooper. This is The Last Show. We'll be back tomorrow.
Well, you've heard me on the radio and you've listened to my podcast. Well, now you can watch me on YouTube for thought-provoking conversation, fearless interviews that you won't get anywhere else. The Ben Mulroney Show every single day. So go to YouTube, subscribe to The Ben Mulroney Show, and never miss an episode.